My name is Joy Dempsey, and in front of you, you'll see Leah Dempsey there. So those of you who have just hopped on, that's who we are, and I'm going to be leading you through this 1-hour class yoga for well-being. We're going to start today's practice lying down. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And maybe some of you, this is where you're going to spend the whole class. You're like, oh, nap time on a rainy day, nap time. Feel free. Feel free to stay here all class. If this is what you need, you can stay here. But we're going to start here with our little bit of centering. As I mentioned, today's class is around vulnerability. We're going to talk about the idea of control versus vulnerability, what vulnerability can bring to us and bring to our lives. Often thought about as a negative thing, but I'm going to highlight some ways that I think it's actually a positive thing. So as you're lying here on your back, I want you to lift your right leg off the floor just a couple inches and then squeeze it. Squeeze the toes, squeeze the legs, squeeze the sides, squeeze it really tight, as tight as you can, and then relax it. Let it plop to the ground and feel the leg soften and relax. You can even notice it sort of on the tingly level. What does it feel like to be engaged? What does it feel like now to soften and relax? And let's try the left leg. The left leg's going to lift off the floor just a little bit. Squeeze the toes, squeeze the ankles, squeeze the knees, squeeze the sky. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. And then soften, relax. Let it drop onto the ground. And feel that transition of tinglies on the inside from being contracted to being relaxed. We're going to do the same with the right arm now. So lifting the right arm off of the ground just a couple inches, squeeze the hand, squeeze the fingers closed, maybe even squeeze the fingers open if you've ever thought, how can I do that? Your forearm, your elbow, your shoulder, everything's so tight. And then relax it. Let it plop to the ground. Let it soften into the ground. And feel that transition from being engaged, being relaxed. Nice left arm now, lifting up, squeezing, 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 tight, tight, tight. And then release. Feel that transition in the body from engagement to softness. Okay, we're going to go big here. We're going to do both legs, lifting them up a little bit, squeezing them, squeeze the arms, squeeze the belly, squeeze the chest, squeeze the bum cheeks, squeeze the face, squeeze the nose, squeeze the eyes, whatever you can find, the belly button even, squeeze it, squeeze it, squeeze it. And then exhale, relax. Feel that wave of relaxation transition through the whole. Bring the mind's eye right to the nose and notice the air that's coming in and going out and coming in and going out. Coming in, 4, 3, 2, 1. Going out, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Coming in, 4, 3, 2, 1. Going out, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Coming in, 4, 3, 2, 1. And coming out, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. A couple more breaths in this place. The first sort of idea, the ponderings around vulnerability. Brene Brown is sort of the vulnerability queen these days. So if you don't know her but like these ideas, I encourage you to look up Brene Brown. And all of my quotes today are from her, but this is the first of 4. Vulnerability is the core of shame and fear and our struggle for worthiness. But it appears that it also has the birthplace of joy, creativity, of belonging, of love. Definitely our current times have taken away things that we normally able to control, our schedules, our toings and froings, and that has sort of forced us into this place of vulnerability. Not always an easy place, but I thought if we talked about it a little bit, it also might encourage you to see it as that the potential that it has as we reopen what can what can be fostered from this time that we have been vulnerable, when we have been taken away from what we have known to be truth and able to organize around and control around. Now we have new space. Put your feet on the floor with the knees bent. We're going to keep moving this body. Hands down into the sides of the body. Press the arms into the ground to lift the hips up into a pose we call the bridge pose. And then as your hips are lifted up, notice that at the base of base of the neck, you have a vertebrae pressing into the ground there. So close your eyes and mindfully lay one vertebrae down at a time. As you come down, bring the spine back down towards the ground. You can imagine it like a string of pearls, and you're bringing one vertebrae down, then the next, then the next. You might notice that they might come down in clumps a little bit here and there, but that's okay. We're gonna do this a couple times. Okay, let's try again. Arms press into the ground, lift the hips up, and we're trying to really separate those vertebrae. You're doing some movement in between into the back itself. So now we're going to come back down again. Notice you can tuck the hips under a little bit as you get to the mid back and the lower back to really see if you can separate one vertebrae at a time, coming down towards ground. Nice. Here we go. Lift the hips back up. This time, I'm going to ask you to bring your arms overhead onto the floor behind you and sort of notice your arms overhead, and you can even reach your fingers up towards the wall behind you. So you really get extension and as much contact as you can with the arms into the floor, though not all shoulder structures allow for full contact. And with your arms overhead and that connection with the floor, now bring your spine down one vertebrae at a time. Your arms are going to want to lift away from the floor, and you're going to work towards keeping them towards the floor as the spine comes down at the same time. A little extra stretch through the shoulders there. Now we'll take the hands back down towards the floor beside you. Inhale, lifting the hips up, a little bit of strength to start here. So now you have both feet into the ground. Maybe. I'm going to give the option to lift one foot off the ground, shining the sole of the foot up towards the ceiling as if you're going to walk on the ceiling. If having one leg up is like, no way, Joy, then feel free to keep both legs on and keep those hips stay strong. This is an opportunity for strength here. So take the opportunity to notice what strength feels like in the body. The mind wants to fight the strength. The body, the tendency of the mind is to have the body in places that are not sensational, but that's what yoga is doing. We're trying to be sensational in different ways now in a strength way. Bring that right foot down, finally, and the left foot can come up instead, as if you're standing on the ceilings. The toe can draw back in towards the face. As you lift the leg up, the hips are going to want to sink down, but you're going to really work as if you have a string attached to your belly button, lifting up just a little bit through that belly button, staying strong. Nice. Returning that foot back down onto the ground, and as slowly as possible, as if once again you're playing a string of pearls down one at a time, the vertebrae comes down to the ground. Knees can come into the chest. Hug the knees into the chest. Give yourself a nice big hug in. This is yay knee pose. Last couple of weeks we've ended the class with this pose, but I wanted to make sure I had it in the beginning this time. Those of you who haven't done a practice with me, usually this is called little boat pose, but I've personally renamed it to the yay me pose. Just an opportunity for gratitude. As you're working with the body, the tendency of the mind is to go into negative places. Think, oh, I wish I could do that. I should be able to do that. I used to be able to do that. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with my body? Those thoughts are not very helpful in yoga. And so I like to start the practice with gratitude. Your body is doing so many things amazingly for you to even just show up on your mat and do a variation on any of these moves. So let your body have some gratitude, have some respect, and try to keep that blooming throughout today's practice. Okay, hands. Now your fingertips are going to go into your knee pits. No, your knee pit. Have you thought about that part of your body lately? And then kick your legs and rock along the spine. So you're rocking off your shoulders and off your hips, and as if you're on a big swing, walking back and forth. This is to bring sort of a massage-like feeling into the back of your body. If you haven't been able to get a massage, this could be the best you're going to get. So give yourself a couple more rocks. And eventually rocking up to seated, placing your feet onto the floor in front of you. So your feet are on the floor, and have your hands stay holding onto your knees. With your hands holding onto your knees, straighten your arms to lean back a little bit. Not too much, because you still want your core to be able to be okay with the fact that you're going to let go of your knees, but have your hands next to your knees. This is a place where I'm sort of disheartened that I don't have your screens on, because usually people smile about right now. You're like, oh, core. Notice your feet. Really press those feet into the ground. Spine is tall, head is reaching. Okay, hold back onto those knees. Give yourself that little bit of break. Yes, you're right. Some of you have been with me. I'm starting a little bit stronger today. Just trying to play into that idea of control and vulnerability. Try things, they might not work, and notice you can always come back to holding onto those knees. Let go of the knees if you're with me. Option to keep your hands here. It's a little bit lighter for the lower back. So if your lower back is something that you highlighted, keep your hands here or keep holding on and letting go. Other option here would be to open the arms out to the sides. A little doll when I was a girl that had his arms out like this and a little saying underneath that I love you this much. Okay, bring your hands back down onto your knees. Give yourself that break. Okay, this is the third of the series. So your option to have your hands next to your knees, option to have the hands out where they were before. This next one is even just a teeny bit stronger. So pick any of those places. So hands released from the knees, maybe they're next to, maybe they're outside, or the third option I'm going to give now is the arms overhead. Reach them overhead. Things might be shaking. Think about those feet really pressing down into the ground. Nice and strong, nice and strong. You got this for 3, 2, 1. Nice. Bring those hands back down. Sit back up. Come all the way around onto your hands and knees. Nice. All the way around to the hands, and give yourself some spine movement here. That was a nice strong place for the spine. We started with a couple strong things for the spine. So give your spine some movement here to spread that love around. So cat and cow, rounding and arching the spine is one idea, but there's no wrong movement here. So you can make those spines go around in a circle. The hips can wag, the head can move, and sort of explore what it feels like to move your body in a way that may or may not have name. I just got a comment. So shaking is good. Yes, it is. It means it's working. It means it's working. Pain is not good, but shaking's okay. Okay, now we're going to move up into a downward facing dog. Tuck the toes under, lift the hips up, downward facing dog. Okay, so this is a place, if you have wrist sensitivities, if wrists are a place that you highlighted, coming onto your forearms might be another idea here. We're here first to stretch the backs of the legs, pedaling one heel and then the other heel towards the ground, giving yourself that little extra stretch place. And then we're going to step that right foot forward to come into a lunge. And Leah stepped right through the middle, but there also is an option. Leah, slide your foot back. And another option is to bring the foot out to the side and step it to the outside of your right hand. So that is a little easier for some hip structure. So just know if the foot doesn't come forward straight through easily, it can come out and around and down. And then you can just adjust your hand to the outside of the foot once it's up there. So those are a couple of ideas to get into lunge. And this, what we're doing a little bit later is going to have this idea incorporated. Keeping the left hand onto the ground, lift the right hand up and we're going to twist. And the hand that's on the ground, come up onto fingertips, onto spider fingers, a little bit stronger here. And then perhaps that lower hand moves to hovering over the ground, also a little stronger. So it may or may not lift for a moment or two. Nice. Hand comes back down. Both hands come back down. Slide the front foot back into downward facing dog. You can pedal that one out. Okay, and then the left foot is going to step forward. It might come straight through or it might come around to the outside and place down. Getting yourself settled into the lunge. New sort of idea for the hips here that we haven't done a move like this yet. So sort of noticing the stretches, sensations, perhaps it's settling in the front of the back leg or the back of the front leg. Where is it hitting? It's noticing the body not as a judge, but as an explorer. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Okay, now you're going to keep the right hand on the ground and the left hand's going to lift up and you're going to twist. Noticing the line-ish between the ceiling and the floor with the arms and with the shoulders. The hand that's on the floor, come up onto spider fingers. That's going to bring you into a place of strength. I have a quote here from Brene Brown. Vulnerability is our most accurate measurement of courage. I feel like this next move takes some courage. Those fingertips getting lighter into the ground, maybe even hovering over the ground, a little bit of courage because you're going to be a little bit shaky, perhaps a little wavering, perhaps the hands come down for a moment of time. Nothing wrong with the hand coming down for a moment and then trying to lift it back up. Lifting the corners of the mouth sometimes helps with this action too. In yoga and in real life, that top hand comes back down now. Whew, done. Slide that front foot back into downward facing dog. Bring the knees down onto the ground, knees apart, toes together. Sit the hips back over the heels and come into child's pose. This is a deep compression for the knees and ankles and hip creases. If this doesn't work for your knees and ankles and hips, you can lift the hips up just a little bit more. Thank you for the haircut comment. Yes, so letting yourself sit in a little bit of space. We just moved the body. I did definitely a few strength moves there. So just sort of connecting with that, how that's settling in the body, noticing in yourself if you need to make adjustments, any sort of physical injuries or sensitivities that you want to make sure you're continuing to work around, bring those to mind. So spend a few moments. What does it feel like to try something new, to open up? The really good thing about controlling and scheduling, and it's something necessary that we have to do to get everything we need to get done for sure, but there's also room for creating space, being vulnerable to what can happen when we have that space open to us. Here's some space to breathe, the breath coming in and going out. And coming in and going out. Hands press into the ground. Tuck the toes under, lift the hips up and come into downward facing dog. This time you're going to step the right foot forward about 3/4 of the way forward, and then so the heel can come down onto the ground. And then bring that hand onto the front knee and the arms come up overhead. So this is going to take us into a warrior one. So sort of the difference between a warrior one and a lunge is that back heel mainly. That back heel is going to connect with the ground, both heels connecting with the ground. Sometimes having that back foot slide over towards the outer edge of your mat gives you just a little bit more stability in this pose. This is a move we did a couple of weeks ago. If you're with me, we're going to repeat this one. That the fingertips are going to point up and back towards the upper corner of the room. And now you're going to fold forward, bring the chest down towards that front thigh. Hands come down towards the ground, and they're going to continue swooping up and back so they end up pointing towards that same corner-ish. Have to be perfect. And then as you inhale, you're going to stand back up, arms come up and overhead and up towards that corner once again. Exhale, big swooping forward, arms come up and back. Inhaling the arms up overhead towards the corner. Nice. Take your whole exhale to bring you forward and continue with the arms to complete the exhale. Inhale the arms up and back. Try to find that perfect breath movement. Exhale forward. Inhale up and back. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale up and back. This time, as you fold forward, pause when the torso is parallel to the ground, fingertips reaching towards the side wall. So the hands are reaching forward. We didn't get a chance to practice. There we go. And trying not to sit in that hip crease, but really reaching out. So you have a nice parallel line of the body. This is a strong place, as you can see from Leah's face. So maybe you can't see, I can see it. She's like trying so hard here, maybe even shaking. That could be you too. It's a strong place. 3, 2, 1. Hands come down onto the ground. Slide that front foot back into a downward facing dog. Good work, guys. Throwing some extra ones at you today. Okay, couple of breaths to pedal those heels, to notice. You might notice in that last pose that one of the things the body wants to do when it gets into a strong place is to hold the breath. And what I try to do when I'm teaching is to hold the pose longer than you could possibly hold your breath. So just sort of notice that I'm really hoping that you're breathing all along. And if you notice that there's parts where you're holding your breath, try to keep that breath as slow and steady as you can. Yoga is about training. So we're trying to take the body into stressful places and trying to remain calm. And then hopefully through that training, when we move out into the real world and we encounter stressful places, we'll keep breathing to keep ourselves a little bit more regulated. Anyway, that's the theory behind this. Sometimes it works in real life. Let's go with that left foot stepping 3/4 of the way forward so the heel can connect with the ground. The hands come up onto the front knee and then up overhead. And then take a little moment here to get yourself settled nicely into this warrior one position with the left foot forward, those back toes pointing towards the top-ish corner of your mat, the heels connecting into the ground, fingertips lifting up and even back a bit towards the upper corner of the room. Exhale, folding forward, hands swoop towards the floor, up and back. Inhale, up. As we've done this before, now it's on a new side. Try to give that breath pace going. Exhaling forward, pause, inhaling up and back. Keep going like that. Try to find your own breath pace. A slower, steadier breath is a better yogic kind of breath. So see what you can do to slow this down. Back and forth, back and forth. Next time you fold forward into that 90 degrees, so come forward until the torso is parallel to the reaching forward. Reaching through the fingers. Maybe even shaking, that's okay. 3, 2, 1. Nice. Stepping the back foot to meet the front foot. So you're standing at the top of your mat, hands come to prayer position. Fingertips just barely touching. Breath comes and goes. And notice how it's coming and going. It might be a little shallow to start, but then as you take a couple breaths, you're able to slow it down. You might also notice the same thing with your heart rate, working to slow it down in this moment. We're going to be moving through. Um, it's been raining a lot. So I thought, what a good day to add some sun salutations, just so the sun knows that we are thinking about the sun, and that with these salutations, perhaps we could get the sun to join us just a little bit more this early summer, late spring. Okay, so this is a hatha variation on a sun salutation. So it's a little bit different than the Ashtanga form, if you know the Ashtanga form. Anyway, we are going to move through it slowly to start, so it doesn't matter if you know it or not. I will talk you through the variation I'm thinking about today. Inhaling, the arms out to the sides, up overhead, the fingertips are going to touch. Swooping the arms out to the sides, fold forward, fingertips down towards the toes. Okay, so just we're going to take a couple breaths here. You might connect your fingertips into the ground. If they don't quite reach, you can bend your knees to get them there. Stepping the right foot back to come into a lunge. We've been here before. And then the left foot's going to meet it. So you're going to be in a plank position. So this plank position, your knees can be off the ground, but they can also be on the ground. Yeah, thanks for demonstrating that, Leah. On the ground in plank position. We'll take a couple extra breaths here. I want you to really feel strong through the back body. So imagine there's a big magnet above your back body, and it's drawing between the shoulder blades, especially through the lower back, especially lifting that up into just the space above it, as if there's a big magnet just lifting you up, so you have that whole core working with you, and that helps engage some of the smaller muscle groups, that lifting idea. Okay, bend your elbows back and slowly lower yourself down onto the ground. See if you can take this slowly on the ground, all the way onto the ground. Nice. Keeping your hands where they are, press your hands into the ground to lift the upper ribs off the ground, but the belly stays on the ground. Back to the feet can press in towards the ground. This is Cobra pose. Bring your nose back down onto the ground, pushing back into the plank pose from your toes or from your knees. Tuck the toes under, lift the hips up, back into downward facing dog. Stepping forward with the right foot into a lunge, maybe through the center, maybe to the outside. Left foot's gonna meet it, standing forward folds. Nice. Inhale the arms out to the sides, up overhead, fingertips touch overhead. Arms swoop back out to the sides and then end up meeting in front of the heart once again. Okay, so that was the right side. We're going to do this a few times. So if that seemed a little bit like, oh, what was I doing? Don't worry. By the end of all the times, I'm pretty sure you'll have this. Swoop the arms out to the sides, up overhead, fingertips meet. Exhale, swan dive forward, fingertips down towards the ground. You can bend your knees to get the fingertips there. Taking this just a little bit quicker this time. So you're going to take the left foot back into a lunge. And then the right foot's going to meet it, plank position from your toes or from your knees. And whether you're wondering which way you should do it, the place you have the most control through the back. If you're from your toes and you can't get that lifting magnet feeling in the back body, then come from your knees and really get that magnet feeling. And then you'll be doing more for your body. Bend the elbows back, coming all the way down onto your belly. Cobra pose, press the hands into the ground, lift the front ribs, but the belly stays on the ground. Your hands are pressing into the ground, so you're using your arm strength to lift you up this much. Face back down towards the ground, pressing up through your knees and back into downward facing dog. Nice. And then stepping forward with the left foot into a lunge, maybe straight through or maybe out to the side. Right foot's going to meet it standing with the feet together. Arms out to the side, up overhead, fingertips touch. Exhale, arms out to the side, hands come to prayer. You might want to give your moment to check to see where you are on your mat. I said step forward. So for some hips, that wouldn't put you all the way to the top of your mat. So you can always, if you're not quite at the top of your mat to start this, you can kind of scoot your way up now to the top of your mat for this next time around. Those were the movements. Now I'm going to talk about that the breath has a place in these movements. So I'm going to mention the inhale and exhale. Feel free to join me with those, but if there's any point throughout the series that you need to take an extra breath, yes, take an extra breath, please. Inhale the arms out to the sides, up overhead. Exhale, swan dive forward. Inhale, stepping back with the right foot. Left foot meets it, hold the breath. Exhale down onto the ground. Inhale up into cobra. Exhale, nose back down, pressing yourself up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale, right foot steps forward. Exhale, left foot meets it, complete the exhale. Inhale, the arms out to the sides, up overhead, fingertips touch. Exhale, hands come to prayer position in front of the heart. Ooh, okay. Take a couple breaths here. Settle. Use the time. Slow the heart rate, the breath rate. Again, we're bringing the body into these stressful places and we're trying to keep the mind not stressed. We're trying to show the breath that we have the control, that we can slow it down. We can be in the moment. Here we go. Inhale the arms out to the sides, up overhead, fingertips touch. Exhale, swan dive, fold forward. Inhale, left foot steps back, lunge. Hold the breath as the right foot meets it, plank. Exhale all the way down onto the ground. Inhale, cobra pose, lift the ribs but not the belly. Exhale, nose down towards the ground, keep pressing up and back. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, stepping forward with the left foot into a lunge. Right foot meets it. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, the arms out to the sides, up overhead, fingertips touch. Exhale, arms out to the sides, hands come to prayer position. See if you can move the mind's eye right into the fingertips, noticing the fingertips touching one another, as if that's the most important thing in this moment right now. One more time through for this rainy afternoon. Inhale the arms out to the sides, up overhead. Exhale, swan dive forward. Inhale, stepping back with the right foot lunge. Hold the breath as the left foot meets it, plank position. Exhale, coming down onto the ground. Inhaling up into cobra. Exhale, nose back down. Keep exhaling all the way up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale, stepping forward with the right foot. Left foot meets it. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, arms out to the sides, up overhead, fingertips touch. Exhale, hands come to prayer position. Inhale, arms out to the sides, up overhead, reach up. Exhale, swan dive forward. Last one, last side. Inhale the left foot back. You got this. Right foot meets it. Be strong. Exhale all the way down onto the ground. Inhale up into cobra. Exhale up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale the left foot forward. Right foot meets it. Exhale. Inhale the arms out to the sides, up overhead, reach up. Exhale, hands come to prayer. Give yourself a moment as if this is part of the flow, trying not to add extra movements or fidgets, just breathing, just fingertips, heart rate slowing, breath rate slowing. Authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we are supposed to be and embracing who we are. Another Brene Brown quote, as promised. Who we are, this moment, this breath, stripping away those extra thoughts, those extra critiques, a breathing person, a feeling person, heart beating. Moving into tree pose, Lee, I'll have you orientate yourself this way. Fingertips can stay touching in front of the heart prayer position. And we're moving into a couple of balancing poses now. So starting with a tree pose, shifting your weight into your left foot. The right foot is going to come up onto the inner calf, knee, maybe thigh. How high up the foot goes on the leg doesn't make this a better pose. It just changes the angle of the hip. But if you're feeling like for you, balance is easier with the toes on the ground or coming on and off the ground, that's totally a place that this pose can be. There's a continuum in balance. You don't have to be perfectly balanced the whole time. You might even notice how you're wobbling, trying not to grip the floor with the toes that are touching the floor, but have a little softness, more like a willow branch with that foot. Knee comes back to center and comes back down onto the ground. Perfect timing. And then shift your weight into your right foot. The left foot is going to come up. Maybe all the way up, maybe not. Maybe the toes stay on the ground, or maybe the foot sits on the inner calf or inner knee. That's fine too. More about the fact that you're trying to balance on one foot. You balance with your eyes too. So noticing that you're looking at a spot and that spot is going to stay your spot. Just keep looking at that so the brain and the body get a sense of how this communication is happening. So many things are happening right now between the brain and the body to figure this one out. We're usually used to being on 2 feet. So here we are on one. Okay, knee comes back to center and place the foot back down onto the ground. One more balancing idea here. So this next one is the dancer's pose. So you're going to shift your weight into your left foot. Okay, yeah, turning sideways might be nice here. Kick your right foot back behind you, and it can stay here as a kickback, or you can hold on to it if that works for you. Left arm is going to reach up in line with the ear. This is the base place, so you can have the foot kick back. You can hold on to it. Having the knee pointing down towards the ground is one idea. Another idea for this pose is to press the foot into the hand to lift the leg up a little bit. That's going to tilt the torso forward. You're still going to think about this as a back bend, so that top arm reaching up, maybe even reaching back a little bit crazy with this one. So see what you can do. Maybe you come in and out of it a couple times, I'm hoping you're not holding your breath, that there's a breath contingent to this. And you can even imagine your breath traveling down through the leg you're standing on to help that breathing happen. Stay with me and inhale and exhale 2 and inhale and an exhale, returning that foot back down onto the ground. Let's shift it over. That foot comes into the ground and we'll shift it over to the other side. So kicking the left foot back. You can kick it back, or you can hold on to it with the other hand. So you don't have to hold on to it, especially if that doesn't work for the knee. It's quite a deep knee bend here. Right arm's going to reach in line with the ear. So this is the base place with the knee down towards the ground. Another idea, if you want to play with this, you're changing the dynamic of the body. So just making sure you're looking at the thing you're looking at and keep looking at that thing. If you're shifting your body, then you really want to look at that thing so your body and your mind can have a nice conversation of how you can stay balanced on one foot and do this at the same time. Top arm reaching up, reaching back. Stay with me and inhale and exhale, 2, and inhale and an exhale, returning that foot down onto the ground. Beautiful. Slide the hands down, the legs fold forward. Hands press into the ground, walk the feet back, and coming into child's pose. We were here before, the knees apart, the toes together, hips back over the heels. This child's pose is a release for the lower back. So now I'd like you to think of bring your attention into your lower back and breathe into your lower back. You might even imagine that your kidneys in your lower back waist are like kidney lungs, and that they could fill up as you inhale and release as you exhale. So you can really feel that lower back body expand and contract with the breath. We're going to be here for a few breaths. So noticing the breaths, if you can be in this place, in this time, necessarily controlling the space or fidgeting in the space, but just seeing if you can hold the space to be. Hands press into the ground. Tuck the toes under, lift the hips up and back, downward facing dog. And then from downward facing dog, coming forward into a plank position. And that plank position can be from your toes or from your knees. One last little strong element before we move on to our back and do the last few movements on our back. So here's a strong element. I want you to think about that strength, gather that strength, lifting into the back body, being strong. Might want to notice how the mind probably every 2 or 3 seconds reminds you that this is a strong place. It's reminding you, thinking, The interesting thing with our mind is that automatically throughout the day, whenever we're feeling a bit uncomfortable, it shifts us into a place of more comfort. So even when you're sitting at your desk doing work, it's going to shift you into a place of more comfort. So when I'm asking you to stay here in plank pose, your mind is saying, but I had this great relationship with with the body that I kept shifting it into a place of comfort. So it keeps wanting the body to move towards comfort, and to get stronger, it gets uncomfortable. You have to be uncomfortable. So now this is the conversation. We're trying to rewrite the conversation between the mind and the body to be a little okay with a little discomfort, because that's where we grow from. That's our vulnerability. That's where we grow from. Stay with me for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yay, nice work. Let yourself come all the way down onto your belly and then flip around onto your back. We've got a few poses here on our back. But let yourself, and if you have a blanket nearby, we're going to need that in a little bit. So you might want to just slide it close-ish to you, grabbable distance. Okay, you're on your back. Bring your knees into your chest, hug them in. Yay me, yay me. I just did a really long plank pose. I think I had that about 45, 50 seconds on that plank pose there. So that's a nice long one. Keeping your right knee into your chest, send the left leg long on the floor. Holding onto the right knee with the right hand, reach down with the left hand to grab a hold of the right foot. And then it's not going to touch exactly, but you're going to bring the right foot up towards that left shoulder-ish. And so your leg is going to kind of square off towards your chest. Depending on your hip and your knee, how close the calf gets to your chest depends, but you're just going to kind of draw it in that direction to get into the hips. And then you can imagine this leg like a little baby, and you're going to rock the leg from side to side. And you can notice the leg is moving, but what I'm thinking about is your ball and socket joint of your hip. So then with the mind, you can even close your eyes and sort of notice that the hip, the ball is moving around in the hip socket from side to side, and you can maybe even move it around in more of a circular motion to kind of play in that hip socket. And bringing the leg back to center, slide the right hand down the right calf to hold on to the right foot with the right hand. And then shine the sole of the right foot up towards the ceiling. And then bring that right knee down to the outside of the body. This is called, well, when you do both legs at the same time, it's called happy baby. This is called half happy baby. And I have a trouble with that name because I've never seen a half a baby that was actually happy, but this is the name of where we're at. It is a nice stretch. So notice as the knee comes down, the right knee comes down towards the side of the body, the back of the left thigh wants to lift away from the ground. So you think about both those places drawing down towards the ground at the same time. Nice. And then straighten that right leg up towards the ceiling. And then arms open out to the sides in a T position. Take that right leg over towards the left for a twist. And this is a deep twist. If you're feeling you want to soften it, you can bring the lower left knee underneath the right knee. As you're coming around, you'll notice that right shoulder lifting away from the floor in this twist, probably. And it's okay if it lifts, but you're just thinking of how can I soften it towards the floor. Nice wrapping, twisting sensation. Eyes can close. Breathe. Okay. And then bring that leg back through center. Send that leg long on the floor. With both legs long on the floor, take a little noticing moment. Notice the right leg and notice the left leg. Notice where they're tingling, how this one feels a little bit different than that one, just because of sometimes you get the sensation that the leg you just worked on feels a little bit longer. I'm guessing it's not really longer. It just feels that way in case you're worried about that. Probably the same, but you've just gotten some stretching action into the hip. Here we go into the other side. So now you've got the left knee into the chest, hug it in. And then you're going to reach down with your right hand to grab a hold of the left foot and bring the left foot up towards the right shoulder-ish, squaring off the calf towards the chest. And then from here, rocking the baby so the leg moves back and forth. And again, we're not really thinking about the leg moving back and forth isn't really the focus here. It's actually the hip socket. So you can move slowly back and forth, or the hip socket has a circular motion ability. So you can kind of move it back and forth or around, or you can even go in a figure eight if you want. Just sort of noticing that's with a mindfulness sort of movement. So slow and steady. And slow enough that you can kind of notice the impact of the movement you're making. Sometimes we move so quickly that we're more worried about the movement than the impact. But with yoga, impact is really important. And I say impact, it kind of has a strong connotation. So it shouldn't be an impact that's a painful, strong impact, but it should have a sensational sort of impact. You're noticing that you're feeling a little bit of something here and you're feeling a little bit of something there. Okay, and then sliding the left hand down the left calf to hold on to the sole of the left foot. Sole of the left foot opens up to shine towards the ceiling. Some people can hold on to their foot in this position. Some of you might be holding on to your calf, maybe ankle, or maybe even the back of the knee to get this same form with the leg, but you don't have to hold on to the foot itself, you can hold on to the leg to get that angle. And again, noticing how the knee is going to travel down towards the outside of the left side of the body, but now the right thigh is going to lift away from the ground. So you're going to try to bring the right thigh towards the ground as the left knee comes down towards the ground at the same time. They both probably won't touch at the same time, but the action of doing that is the motion we're trying to bring into the hip. And then releasing the left foot up towards the ceiling, opening the arms out to a T position, and bring that left leg over towards the right rear twist. And again, this is a deep twist, so just sort of notice the impact of this one into your waist and lower back. And if you feel like this is too much of a stretch for your lower back, especially if you highlighted it, then you're going to bring that lower knee underneath the upper knee for more of what we call a knee down twist. This variation of a twist is called jackknife twist. If you are thinking about names, that's what this one's called. Face in the opposite direction of the crossed leg, eyes are closed, breath is coming and going. Bring that leg back up to center and bring both knees into your chest. I think one more yay knee is necessary here. Feel that gratitude. I asked you to do a few things today with the body, so some lots of strength things with with the body today, and also to contemplate ideas around vulnerability. Both of those things, not easy things. So let yourself feel some gratitude for working through this experience, bringing some depth to this experience. So bringing the legs long on the floor. And if you want to add your blanket into this, this would be a good time. We're going to do one little thing in the beginning of the final relaxation, but your blanket on for this. At the beginning of the class, we broke down the body and when we tense the body and then release the body in different parts. We are going to do that one more time, but we're going to do it the last way we did it at the beginning of class, which we're going to incorporate the whole body all at once with an active tension. So lifting both legs off of the ground and squeezing the arms, squeezing the bum cheek, squeezing the belly, squeezing the face, squeezing, everything so tight. And then exhale, relax. And if the legs or arms didn't land in a place that's relaxing, you can shift them a little bit to feel that sense of relaxation. That was a big move with the body. So now I want you to take your mind's eye into the body and have a moment with parts of the body just to confirm they're relaxed. So bring your mind's eye to notice your feet to confirm your feet are relaxed. And your calves confirming they're relaxed. Your knees and thighs confirming they're relaxed. Bum cheeks and lower belly confirming that they're relaxed. And just do a closer noticing from the waist all the way down through the toes, the lower part of the body, it's relaxed. The lower third of the torso is relaxed. The middle third of the torso is relaxed. The upper part of the torso, including the rib cage and the shoulders, they're relaxed. cage is so relaxed, you can let the natural breath come and go from the lungs unimpeded. Right arm is relaxed down to the fingers. And the left arm is relaxed down to the fingers. The neck is relaxed. The jaw is relaxed from the base of the ears down to the tip of the chin. The tongue is relaxed. The roof of the mouth is relaxed. Eyes and eye sockets are relaxed. Forehead is relaxed. Back from the forehead into the mind. The mind is relaxed. It's more words from Brene Brown. Be vulnerable. Let yourself be deeply seen. Love with your whole heart. Practice gratitude and joy. Be able to say, I'm thankful to feel this vulnerable because it means I'm alive. And believe I am enough and that you're worthy of love and belonging. Breath is coming and going. Maybe even a little bit more deeply. Self into this space. If you're thinking to yourself right now, there's no way I want to get up. I don't want to do anything. Feel free to stay here. You're in your own house, so it's totally fine for you to stay here as long as you need to stay here. You're with me to conclude this experience. Draw your knees into your chest and hug them in. And then rocking yourself off to your side and in your own time, take your time to come up to a seated. I want to thank you, thank you, thank you for joining me this afternoon. The light in me sees the light in each of you. Namaste.